Hey, friend. I'm sitting here just reminiscing on some things from the past, trying to work through some thought processes and just see what I can do to help make this world a better place. And one of the things that crossed my mind is how important it is to have difficult conversations. A lot of times we avoid certain conversations because we are avoiding conflict. Conflict is not always easy. Um, a lot of times we fear rejection whenever it comes to having a difficult conversation with somebody. We're scared of losing a friendship or uh, perhaps risking having a bad reputation. And it can be difficult, and challenging, and bring up all sorts of different emotions whenever we're challenged to have a conversation with someone that may be misinterpreted or that may cause pain. Um, and we forget that pain can be temporary if it's necessary in order to lead to somebody's healing. My middle school years were especially rough for me. I was having a difficult time adjusting in life. Uh, Part of my story is that I experienced a lot of trauma as a child, and I was trying to figure out life. And as a way to mask my pain, I I had the filthiest mouth on the face of the planet. There's no other way to say it, but that was my way of coping and trying to gain back power. Is that um, I spoke horribly. I look back in my life, and that wasn't the way that I was raised. My parents didn't raise me to speak that way. As a matter of fact, I can look back in my childhood and I do not remember one single curse word being spoken in my home. But that was not what I portrayed as a middle school student. As a middle school student, I had very vulgar vocabulary, and I was disrespectful to people, to my classmates, and I felt as if I had to try to prove something so that way other people would not see or be aware of the pain that I was experiencing, and it was bad. I didn't even really want to live. It was a very dark season of my life, trying to figure out why the things happened to me as a child, and why, whenever certain people could have stood up for me, they didn't. And uh, I became a mess. I remember that one time my brother, who's 4 years older than me, he came to me. It was my eighth grade year, and he was graduating from high school that year. And he had run into a teacher that I absolutely loved and that I admired and that I had spent countless hours working alongside both my seventh and eighth grade year. I had really, really every moment that I had to spend in this teacher's classroom, I made sure to be there, helping them with different projects, and I, I, I thought the world of this teacher, and I felt safe. I felt as if I had a place, an identity around this specific teacher. And anyhow, my brother came and had a conversation with me and informed me that this teacher had a specific conversation with my brother on how I was an absolute mess, and how my language was inappropriate, and how um, she worried for me as I was stepping into high school, as to what would happen to me as a high school student, and how I wasn't set up for success, and I was causing harm to myself and people around me. And in retrospect, I can see that this teacher had some very valid points, and um, express them to my brother. But I can also, whenever I look back and I look at the way that I received that as a middle school child, I had this person that I had utmost respect for and love for, and that I had invested so much time energy in helping this person. And this person, instead of having a conversation with me, chose to have a conversation with my brother, and my heart broke. I felt so full of shame in that moment. Instead of feeling liberated, I got a lecture from my brother. Take it, my brother was 17 years old and really not at a place to really have, not at a level of maturity yet to have that type of adult conversation with his younger brother. It came more in the form of a lecture, and I just remember feeling so full of shame for what I had allowed myself to become. Instead of allowing healing to come in, I wasn't at a place in my life yet where I was able to process such a profound conversation in the manner that was expected of me. And it just reminded me, in reflecting on that moment, of how important it is to have difficult conversations. Sometimes those conversations, we have them, we have to have them with our coworkers, with family members, with our children, and they're never easy. But it's so important, if we see that somebody really values who we are and has invested time in us, it's important that we take the time to have difficult conversations. I find in the New Testament that there's a scripture that says that we are to speak the truth in love, and there's so many times that we allow fear to get the best of us because we're scared to speak truth, because that truth might end up hurting us. But whenever we speak the truth in love, it gives an opportunity for healing to take place. Whenever you speak the truth in love, you give a person a permission to make mistakes along the way, and to be human in the process of becoming better. And you hold space for someone just to be themselves in the process, and you make a choice to love somebody in the process of their personal growth. Anyhow, I can guarantee it that you are going to run across someone that you need to have a difficult conversation with. And whenever that moment comes, it is my hope and prayer that you would have that conversation, and that you would allow nothing to hold you back from holding space for that person becoming all that they were created to be. Listen, each and every one of us desires that type of connection with someone that would hold the space for us and allow for us to grow, allow for us to heal, allow for us to be human. And I encourage you to do that. Whoever it might be that's around you, hold that space for them. Anyhow, hope I didn't take up too much of your time. It is my hope and prayer that you would be all that you were created to be, and that you would be as healing and as wholesome as you possibly can. Anyhow, hope you have a wonderful weekend. You all be blessed.